Right.
Everyone, welcome to the Quantum Healthy Podcast. Today we have a very special guest and friend who I know from coaching that I did, and then Laura and Valerie live near each other. So we are here with Valerie. Is it Bellew? I should have asked you.
That's
But,
okay, Beaulieu.
yeah,
It's a
Okay,
very French last name, Beaulieu.
very
Yeah.
French last name.
we should have
Valerie
done training
Beaulieu.
beforehand.
I'm going to introduce Valerie and let everybody know her what she does. But we are, yes, we are all quantumly entangled and connected before the episode today. So I just wanted to make that point. So Valerie is a very self-driven and passionate entrepreneur. She's a certified athletic therapist and a mind-body certified mind-body life coach. She's an expert in musculoskeletal injury assessment, active reconditioning, injury prevention, and she is a sports first responder. She has over 15 years of extensive experience in the management of acute, chronic, and sports related injuries, and including pre and post surgery rehabilitation and in concussion management for individuals ranging from the general public to Olympic athletes. And finally, she is a mother of four beautiful daughters. So I just want to start with your story, of course, Valerie, and just how you discovered athletic therapy, life coaching, and mind-body medicine.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be chatting with you guys today. My journey as an athletic therapist started way back, actually, excuse me, in my early 20s. I actually got hurt myself. At the time, I had studied business, so I was working for a big corporation in Montreal, and I got hurt and went to a physiotherapy clinic but got treated by an athletic therapist, which I had never heard of before. And I was like, ooh, what is this? So, anyways, long story short, I knew at the time I didn't want to continue in the corporate world of just doing, marketing and whatnot, sitting at the desk. And I wanted to go back to school. And I was thinking something health related, but then when I discovered athletic therapy and I read into it, the university in Montreal called Concordia University offered athletic therapy. And I was like, that's it. I need to do this. So it's a fantastic profession. We actually are specialists in treating musculoskeletal injuries. So any injuries related to bone, ligaments, muscles, whether it's sports related or also motor vehicle accidents, as well as chronic pain. Now, my background over the last almost now 17 years, I've worked in private clinics and also on field with sports, all the way from high school events, weekend warriors, to world championships. I've traveled the world with the Paralympic team. So it's been such a great experience. I own my own practice for about 10 years in Carleton Place. And I recently sold it just last year. I guess now we're in 2025. So last year, to focus on chronic pain. And that is now my new specialty. And I think you were asking about life coaching. So
Yeah.
the reason about, I want to say well, no, I guess 7 years ago, actually close to 8 years ago, I went through a very difficult divorce. And in that span of 1 year, my physical symptoms got really bad. I started experiencing some significant IBS issues, neck pain, and then some pretty strong headaches. They were pretty persistent. And then in that year, after I gave birth to my second daughter, about 4 hours postpartum, I hemorrhaged. So that pushed me back about 6 weeks. And then when she was about 4 months old, I discovered I had melanoma, so skin cancer on my left breast. So it was about an inch below my nipple, and I was still nursing her. And so, as you can imagine, that was pretty traumatic to me because I thought, well, what the heck? It's on a breast. It's definitely not sun exposed. How is that even possible? And then I'm still, struggling with or nursing her. So then I ended up just needing surgery. We did remove the big chunk of skin that was cancerous, and then I didn't need any chemo or further treatment after that. So that was a good thing. And then 4 months after that, my husband left.
Mm.
So within a span of a year, there was quite a bit of emotional and physical trauma. And then that's when my symptoms really got worse. I was at a point where I was not eating any wheat, dairy, eggs. I was told eggs were giving my migraines. and gluten was giving me my IBS issues. So my health just spiraled downwards. And I discovered life coaching through a podcast, and I fell in love with it. And it really helped me get out of the, just coping what the divorce brought to my life. And I learned how to manage my mindset and regulate my emotions. And that was really life changing. And then I discovered mind body medicine. And that's where, after reading such amazing books, which I'll share with you after, I discovered those were the connecting dots for me. I thought, what if my symptoms are truly related to the trauma I experienced? And not only just that 1 year, but prior to as well. So I studied mind body medicine and started to apply some of those tools and strategies. And I completely healed my migraines and IBS issues and neck pain. So I no longer suffer with any of those. When I do experience pain, I know now that it is either neuroplastic or mind body. So that's how I became a mind body life coach.
Okay, that begs the question. That's a fancy word, neuroplastic. What is neuroplastic pain?
Yeah, so neuroplastic pain, it's real. First of all, it's real pain. The
Okay.
one thing that most people aren't aware is the sensation of pain is always produced by the brain. Most people, let's say you have pain in your back, most people will believe that it is a structure problem or damage in your back that's causing the pain. So, for example, herniated disc or, a torn tendon or muscle. And so we believe that structurally, if there's damage, that's what's causing pain. And that's actually a pure myth. So, when, for example, I'll give you examples to kind of put it all into context. So, if
Yeah.
let's say I sprain an ankle, right? You will feel real pain because your body's trying to tell you, or your brain's trying to tell you there's something wrong happening. And the pain is there so that you stop doing what is dangerous, so that you protect the injury. And then eventually, when the injury heals, and research has shown it's usually within a span of 3-4 months, then the pain should 100% go away. But when the pain continues past about 4 or 5 months and into years, it becomes chronic. That's what we call neuroplastic pains. It means that the brain has developed neural pathways and it keeps thinking that your body is in danger. And so it will keep sending you real pain sensation, thinking you're in danger, but the pain has nothing to do with the injury itself. So I hope that makes sense, but that's really what it's about. So it's the brain developing real pain sensation based on really the signals that the nervous system is sending to the brain.
Oh, interesting. Because I'm actually at that point from an injury 4 months ago. Well, injury was August 15th, surgery was September 3rd. So today is January 3rd. So 4 months exactly. And I'm very lucky. I have no pain in my sleep or just sitting here. I feel good to go, but it's still when I'm walking. But I'm attributing that to I don't quite have all the muscles built up. I still have more therapy. So I think before I judge if it's neuroplastic or chronic, I think I'll give it another month. Yeah, maybe do some athletic therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's lots of, unfortunately, in our conventional system, there's still a lot of myths out there as to what contributes or perpetuates pain, period. So muscle, like you just said, muscle weakness,
Mm-hmm.
often we believe will cause pain. And it actually doesn't at all. So the fact that you did sustain a trauma to the body, right? An actual
Right.
injury. And you're right on the cusp right now. So becoming aware of how you respond to your pain will be key to this so that
Okay.
it doesn't develop into neuroplastic pain.
Plastic. Ah, okay.
Yeah, because neuroplastic pain, the emotion that fuels it is fear.
Okay.
And fear can be disguised as stress, anxiety, pushing through pain,
Okay.
worrying that you're not doing the right exercise, you're not doing
Yes.
enough, you need to be doing more, you need to be doing the right treatment.
I'm doing all
All
that.
these intentions that we all have as humans, it's very normal, unfortunately can actually get you in that pain, fear, pain cycle. So that can actually get your brain thinking, okay, well, you're telling me right now, if you don't do your strengthening exercise, then your injury won't heal. Then I got to make sure I keep sending you pain. So the way in which you respond emotionally and the intention you have behind your physical treatments are so key. And when you understand that, you will recover way faster.
Okay. I'm
Mhm.
gonna go back and re-listen to that whole part because I feel like you're speaking to me. Oh my goodness.
So
Oh,
that's
wow.
true that the pain is neuroplastic. Like what would be some like is it just that threshold of time? Like it's the so much time has passed. Like what's that? What are some cues?
Yeah, so there's actually guidelines. The threshold, the time is one of them. So there's a difference between neuroplastic pain and mind-body syndrome. I'll explain before I dive into the neuroplastic pain. I'll explain
Okay.
just what mind-body syndrome is because there are people that lots of people, unfortunately, chronic pain is really it's a huge problem in North America or even in the world. But where emotional trauma, childhood adversity, those are examples, can really create mind body syndromes. And the
Is
mind
that
body,
ACE? Can I ask if that's ACE? Those ACEs? Adverse childhood events, we call them?
Just
oh, well,
yeah.
that's one of them. So that would be one
Oh,
factor that could be put you at higher risk of developing chronic pain. Whether
okay.
it's childhood adversity, there's actually and this is my specialty. My ideal client are really people pleasers and high achievers, perfectionists. Those were really my strong personality traits. And when I discovered that they were perpetuating my migraines, then I was able to let that go. So these personality traits over time, when they really take over your day, will put your nervous system into a fight or flight response.
Yeah.
So then your body and your brain thinks, okay, you're in danger, let's keep going. And it will send you some signals, whether it's through pain, tingling, numbness, jaw pain, eye pain. I mean, you name it. It can go anywhere in the body and it can come through any form of sensation. And that's why a lot of times people will go into, to see a doctor and they get all kinds of tests and blood work and they can't figure out why they have pain. Fibromyalgia, for instance, is a mind-body syndrome.
Is polymyalgia the also mind body?
Polymyalgia. I don't think I've heard of that one before.
Oh.
It sounds anything myalgia
Yeah.
or itis, right? Would definitely anything that has that people suffer with pain for years or months. Yes, most of the time it's mind-body syndromes and can be reversed through releasing suppressed emotions. So that's really the main difference between neuroplastic pain and mind-body syndrome. So neuroplastic pain usually will develop shortly after an actual injury. So what I see a lot is people have had car accidents, right? Oh, I've had a whiplash or a concussion. And there's myths out there that a whiplash injury can last years, forever, and that is far from the truth. So anyone out there struggling with neck pain, back pain, any form of physical pain from an actual injury, whether it's car accident, sports injury, a big fall, a fracture, a surgery, if your pains continue past that, then that's become neuroplastic. Whereas the mind body syndrome is more, it's caused from emotional trauma, emotional suppression.
Are the
Okay.
symptoms the same, like chronic pain?
Very much so. And they
Symptom.
both mimic structural pain.
Okay.
So we often see this, people, yeah, they'll be like, yeah, but I know, Val, but I'm telling you, my pain is like right here. Like they pinpoint, right? It's right there. I can tell it's got to be something. And it feels that way, but it mimics structural pain. But both neuroplastic pain and mind body syndromes can definitely be similar. Now, I do have guidelines. I'd be happy to list them to make it simpler for your
Sure.
audience.
Sure.
So, neuroplastic pain, the first, if you're noticing that you have pain that's originated during times of stress. So, for example, if you got a new job, if you moved, if you got a new baby, you got married, you have financial stress, any form of stress, if you're noticing you have physical symptoms or pain, that seems to get triggered, that would be neuroplastic. Often we will blame our office chair if we're at work. Oh, it's got to be my chair. It's got to be my posture. And believe me, as an athletic therapist, I used to say this to people. You have poor posture. No wonder you have neck pain. It's far from the truth. It's not true. So,
Can it
but
be a factor though? Like, because it, like, let's say you are super, like, when I walk by my husband, sorry, Paul, if you're listening, because you listen to the podcast, but when he's on his, like, his little iPad and at the dining room table, you know, he's not designed at, in a nice office chair. He's very much forward, and I think, oh my God, that has to, at some point, the weight of that head has got to
yeah,
be causing some pain at some point, but he
it's a
doesn't
myth.
complain.
Poor posture does not cause pain
Okay.
at all. And so if you think of it, are you familiar with the term scoliosis of a
Yes,
spine? Okay.
I am.
So some people are born with scoliosis, so significant curvature of the spine. You have different severities. I have met lots of patients over my years of that have had it, that have it, and so many will have pain, and so many others do not have pain.
Mhm.
So it makes no sense, and it's been proven in the pain science that any structural abnormality or quote unquote misalignment, like your pelvis and your spine being misaligned, does not cause pain. Herniated disc degeneration, spinal stenosis, all these big words that sound so scary do not cause pain.
Wow.
So, yeah. And there's lots of people that will rely on x-rays and MRI to figure out what's going on with them. And then as soon as you see an abnormality, then the easiest route there is to say, oh, this is why you have pain. But our conventional medical system is designed to see it that way. Whereas the mind-body medicine system includes the brain and the nervous system. Very different approach. So going back to the guidelines, I'll just finish that up quickly.
Sure.
So we said
Take your
pain,
time with those, because that's, to get that clear is super
yeah, it's
helpful.
very, very helpful. So pain originated during times of stress would be the
Yes.
first one.
For neuroplastic
For
pain.
neuroplastic pain, that's right.
Right. Okay.
Now, pain originated without injury. Okay, so for example, if you have had, well, again, if let's say you have pain in the shoulder, you've done an ultrasound and it doesn't show any form of tissue damage or whatnot, or it may, but then you don't remember happening, like nothing happening, right? When we always ask, what's your mechanism of injury? How did you hurt yourself? Well, I don't remember. I think it was when I bent over and picked up a grocery bag.
Mhm.
That's common, right? Or I slept wrong. These mechanisms are not forceful enough to cause tissue damage. So if you have pain and you don't recall an actual injury, then that's neuroplastic. Okay. Another good one is when your pain are consistent. So when your symptoms are inconsistent. So you may have one day pain on your right side of your low back, and the next day it moves to your left side, and then you're good for a couple days, and then it's back on for a full week. Very inconsistent. That's another sign of neuroplasticity, that neuroplastic pain. Then we have a large number of symptoms. So this is very common for, let's say, fibromyalgia. So if you have any pain in multiple joints in your body, back pain, your whole spine, your neck, both shoulders. So if you have pain in both sides of your body, both knees, both ankles, both hips, both shoulders, neuroplastic. Unless, again, you remember clearly that something happened. But that's pretty rare. You would have had to been like in a really major fall and had damage on both sides at the same time. And I'm going to make a very important clarification here, because as an athletic therapist, and I've seen this time and time again, and I used to say this to my patients until I understood really the science of pain, is when we say, oh, you have muscle imbalance, right? And we see this a lot with the spine and pelvis. So your glute medius or your right side is weaker than your left side or what have you, then that's what's causing your pain. That is also a myth. Okay. It is not a belief that I will be serving you in your healing, and you don't want to start believing that. So, moving on to the guidelines, if you have symptoms that spread and move around, same thing, very, very common. Sciatica, very common one, right? Pinched nerve. We'll often again believe or assume right away if we have back pain and it starts to go down the leg that it's sciatica, so a pinched nerve. And in fact, it could be very much neuroplastic pain that's just moving around and referring down into the limbs. Same with the neck, all the way down to the extremities of the hands. If you have triggers that have nothing to do with the body, so we often see this, let's say, with veterans, if you've had any trauma in the past. So, for example, anybody that's been to war and there was a lot of trauma coming back home, they might hear a sound of a helicopter, for example. And that sound, so it's through senses, could trigger pain. Okay, so any pain that would be triggered by your five senses, that could be very much neuroplastic. And then we have childhood adversity. So when we talk about trauma, this was so important for me to understand. I don't know about you guys, but every time I heard the word trauma, I always thought of the worst. And so my childhood, for example, was great. I had a great, beautiful upbringing. There was zero, sexual abuse, physical abuse, or drugs, alcohol, anything like that. So I always assume I didn't experience trauma. But when I really understood or read into what trauma truly means, it's anything that can make you feel unsafe. So emotionally or physically. So for me, looking back at my childhood, I moved 14 times in my life. So that was an eye opener because, every time and we're talking moving cities, provinces, schools, from elementary school to high school. So it definitely put me in a state of fight or flight often because you're constantly just readjusting. So it did have an impact in my body over time. So I wanted to make that clarification because I think it's really important. We tend to kind of push that aside a little bit. And then the last one, which also was so enlightening for a lot of my clients, and that's really what I love to work and help people with, is common personality traits that can create neuroplastic pain. So if you're prone to self-criticism, you're really hard on yourself, you're a perfectionist, you put a lot of pressure on yourself with timelines or, whatever it is, or you worry a lot. You worry a lot about other people. You worry a lot about your future. So, and then people pleasing. How many times we say yes to things and to people, and deep down we say no. Eventually your body tells you. Over time it accumulates, and that can really manifest into physical pain and symptoms. So perfectionism, high achievers, people pleasing, anxiousness, and conscientiousness. Now, I'm not saying these are all bad. These are all actually really good quality, right? Personality traits we want to have, but we gotta become very much aware of them and then use them when they actually serve you. People pleasing, in my opinion, it doesn't serve anybody, and it doesn't mean you need to be rude or not nice to people, but when you're not allowing yourself to be true to yourself, that it creates a lot of suppressed emotions, and over time can put you at higher risk of neuroplastic pain. So
A lot of those are definitely what in recovery we call character defects. Many of us in addiction recovery share a lot of those traits. So I'm just thinking about all the patients I've helped that had chronic pain and also had some of those traits. So, oh, thank you for that clarity. So now you had a list of guidelines for mind body syndrome.
the mind body syndrome, there's not so much guidelines. It's more so if you've had no injury, right? Like an actual mechanism of injury. So migraines, for example, are mind body syndromes. IBS issues are mind body syndromes. Fibromyalgia, chronic pelvic pain. Oh my gosh, there's even now studies coming up, and I know Dr. Gabor Mate, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes.
He's made links with, well, not just him, but other physicians as well, with autoimmune diseases. that can be reversed because there are mind-body syndromes that, so coping mechanism we develop over time. Excuse me. So it's not so much the guidelines, it's more so how long have you had pain, and becoming aware of the stress level in your life and trauma. Now, in our society today, most people I ask, are you stressed, or do you live a stressful life? Most people will say no.
Really?
Yeah, a
Are you
lot of them.
asking men or women?
Actually, possibly, well, yeah, good point, Laura. Possibly more men, now that I think about it, than women. But often we think we're so used to it that we don't even know what it's like to not be stressed, right? So if it's been your way of life for so many years, it's just how it is.
Mhm.
So it's a question that most people, again, will think, well, I don't think I'm stressed, so it can't be mind-body syndrome. So you don't want to really relate the word stress. I like to use the personality traits a lot because I've noticed, since I've been doing this work, I have found a lot of those personality traits very dominant in my clients. So for the mind-body syndrome,
Mhm.
mostly.
Which is like like you said, in addiction recovery, right? The
More people-pleasing tendencies, not speaking your truth, expressing how you feel, perfectionism, high achiever, just pushing yourself, self-criticism. When it comes to healing chronic pain, there are two emotions that are so crucial: self-love and self-compassion.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't even know how to give that to ourselves, right? It's not something that we're taught. In fact, it's often misunderstood. We see a lot of times self-love as, oh, they're vain, right? Vanity or arrogance, or it's very
Narcissist.
yes, exactly. But I'm talking about authentic, real, deep self-love, where you love yourself enough and respect yourself enough to prioritize your needs first, and emotional needs, right? Physical needs. So that is something I really work a lot with my clients to develop in my program, because when you get to that point, it becomes so much easier to tap into that mind-body connection, because now you're finally tuning into your body to feel it and to listen to it. So very important.
I taught a workshop a couple years here in Carlton Place at the library just for free. And it was at Valentine's. I just felt like this was a nice time to, we always show our love to other people, but maybe it's a time to focus on self-love, because many people are alone. They don't have partners. But when I went through that process of, I had all these memes and things I would save up the whole year to make this workshop. It was, it was, it was just as much for me, right? To learn and to think, go through that thought process of, wow, am I doing enough self-love? Because I tend to be one of those people pleasers that
Yeah.
gives and gives. But I'm certainly not perfect, but I have learned, even with this injury, once again, is to, I actually do need to do my exercises. I need to prioritize. I can't go the whole day. Because, by the way, for me, I'm noticing the days that now this is maybe neuroplastic, who knows? But, the days that I have put everybody else's needs first, I'm feeling it at the end of the day. Whereas
Mm.
the days that I start my day just doing those, just for a few minutes, those exercises, I feel good. Or I prioritize I swimming to me is play. But those days that I go swimming, boy, do I feel the best.
Well, excuse me. If you're noticing a change in your symptoms, that is definitely you're learning. What's happening is you're actually controlling your pain. That's
Mm,
simply what neuroplastic pain is, right? Your brain, that
mm,
neuroplasticity that our brain has the ability to do, to rewire all these connections and the neurons. When you understand that, and you understand that pain is constructed at all times, no matter what injury, what condition, what illness, whatever it is, it's always constructed in the brain. So you as the human have 100%
mm,
control over it. You do.
mm,
Now, is it easy? No, especially when we're not taught, but it is something that develops. So if you're noticing already that link, that when you do self-care and your pain minimizes, then that is neuroplasticity. That's what's happening, is your pain now. You've sent a message to your brain and your nervous system that you're safe. So your
mm.
brain's like, okay, I'll back off and stop sending you pain.
Oh, wow.
So that's all it is. So when I teach people to rewire, right? That's what we say. It's like it's pain reprocessing. So we're basically teaching the brain and the nervous system that you are safe. That, for example, especially back pain, it's so common when
Mm.
people have been diagnosed, let's say, with herniated disc, and they were told you can't bend over anymore or sit for long hours because it'll trigger your pain or make it worse, then having a belief like that will create fear. 100%. So the more we believe it, the deeper we truly believe that sitting is problematic for our back, will cause pain, then it's going to happen. Your body will achieve what your mind believes. So
Mhm.
whereas if you understand neuroplastic pain and that it's all about emotions, excuse me, then now you can actually be like, huh, you know what? I'm going to let go of this belief because it is not true. It's not a fact. It is a story that unfortunately, it's a belief that we used to back in the day, but it's far from updated in our neuroscience. So if you let go of that belief and you now believe that sitting is healthy for your back, you're sending now safety messages to your brain, and your brain will eventually stop the pain.
So
That's
you're
all it.
really talking about like reprogramming the subconscious mind because that's our software, and sometimes we don't know it's going. So would someone be able to come to you and you could help them with their like changing their belief system? Is that always a part of the processing?
Oh, that is the part of the processing. That is the whole gist of this program. That is the beliefs. Like I always say, excuse me, I don't know who I read this from, but I always now will you say pain equals emotions. Okay, because emotions are energy in motion in your body. It's physics, it's science, it's real. It's not just woo-woo, it's not just a feeling. They're real emotions, and fear is one of the most toxic emotion when we feel it prolonged and during a length time, that's not good for us. It's very helpful to keep us safe, but when it's long term, not good. So when you understand that you have to switch your fear into safety, the only way to do that is through belief. Because every sentence, every belief, every assumption, every expectation we have creates our emotions. It's never our circumstances, ever. So when you understand that power, then you 100% become aware. That's the first step in the work I do with my clients. You have to become aware of the limiting beliefs you have about your body. And I tell you, and I will pick them out because you can just hear when people talk about their pain and their body, then it comes out. And then you could just hear, oh, my body's this, and it goes on and on and on. And so it's very limiting, fear-based, most of the time, beliefs. So then we write them down and we go, okay, and that's where we do the work. Is most of those beliefs are always stories that we've been told by
Mhm.
other people, and it's not to invalidate the work that our medicine, right, that doctors and physios and therapists and chiros do. It's not their fault. It is our conventional system that has trained us, because I'm one of them as well, to believe that. So when we share to our patients that, these things cause your pain, it becomes a belief in most of our patients' brain. And unfortunately, depending on how susceptible these people are, some of them are very, very susceptible. The words of the practitioner can make or break the recovery. So,
Oh, believe
so, so,
this.
so powerful. Very
Like,
important.
and I would guess too, like imagery. Please confirm, like when I had after my surgery, I have a plate and 5 screws, and they sent me the document, and I still have not looked at it. I don't know. I don't want to, I don't know. Is that fear making it worse of
Absolutely.
not looking?
Yeah.
Or if I look at it, would I feel better? I don't know. I just chose not to see it myself.
And you
At
know
that
what?
point in time, I wasn't ready for sure.
And that is listening to that is your body telling you. And so it's important to listen to that. And really, let me ask you this. How would it serve you anyways to look at them,
That's how I feel. Yeah. I think
right?
it's gonna make me feel bad.
Some people, and I mean, some people might be proud, be like, oh, cool, look, I have screws and it's
Yeah.
fun, but if you take it from that lens, from that perspective of, ooh, it's so cool, I've got metal in my body or whatever,
My bionic
then there's
knee.
no fear. Yeah, if there's no fear attached, it's different. But if you
Right.
think it's gonna, quote unquote traumatize you, or you're only gonna think about that, then yeah, it is best not to know. But you're right with the diagnoses, and that's why, I mean, we do see it more and more. Doctors are more reluctant to right away get people MRIs or X-rays for pain, because they
Mm,
often 99.9% do not diagnose. It's not the diagnosis of the pain. The
right.
only reason that's really good to do it is to rule out, tumors and anything serious that needs emergency attention. That's really helpful for that. But to find out if you know, why your knee is sore, to get an MRI and to figure out if your meniscus is torn or your ACL is torn, to be honest, especially depending on the personality type, it can do more harm than good. All
Interesting.
depends on the interpretation, right? We give the meaning we give it.
Yeah.
Here's a question just to follow up on this as well. When people tell the story of the trauma, of what happened to them, could that be prolonging the pain? Because every time they tell it, they bring it up again?
So, yes and no. Depends on the meaning they have behind the story.
Okay.
So, there's actually a module in my program which we talk about this. It's actually how to rewrite your past, how to completely change your
Ah,
past. Because we all know your past, whether it's traumatic or your injury, whatever it is, that's even as far as just 5 minutes ago, is no longer in your control. So, it is a circumstance. What's amazing with the life coaching skills and the tools that I provide people is I help them understand that no matter what the circumstances are, the meaning in which you give it to, so the thoughts you have about it, the beliefs you have, is what's going to create how you feel. So if you tell your story, your trauma to someone, but it's from a place of inspiration,
okay. Yeah.
gratitude that's happened to you, right? Because not to you, but it's you've grown out of it. Like it was there,
Right.
it was a purpose for you to learn, as opposed to poor me, I'm a victim, I'm still
Right.
frustrated, resentful. That's very different. So it
Right.
all depends on which perspective you share your story.
Okay. Right. Okay, perfect.
And people
Yeah.
will sometimes take their past and hold it as their identity, right? I
Yes.
time and time again, like that was like this, like I would get comments. And so I was a men's intensive outpatient. So I worked with a lot of men and, they'd just be like, well, this is just how I am. And, blank, 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 because of XYZ happened to me. So this is how I am now. And it was just like, that was their truth. That was, you know, I'm just an angry person kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
and, getting them to open up about that and their willingness to change. And then, the stages of change and all that come into play. But yeah, this work that you're doing, Valerie, can really turn someone into the person that they want to be, the person that they dream of being. Like, I can just like,
Well,
yeah,
it truly is, because
myself in your
even
course right now. And it's amazing.
people that live with chronic pain, most of the time it becomes their own identity, believe it
Yeah.
or not. Like it really, they will label themselves and I mean, I used to be that. I used to say, I'm like, let's say if you're celiac, even, or if you have an autoimmune disease, we will say, I am, and the name of that, condition or the pain, or no, I can't do that because I have back
Like,
problems.
I am an addict. I am an
Yeah,
alcoholic.
right, right. So these words are so powerful and will send either a fear-based or a safety message to your brain and nervous system. So that's why when I say in the program, it is a transformation. Absolutely. Most people, well, honestly, all people, I have not yet met one person that didn't transform, but from day one to the end of the 6 months, they're completely different. Because and so you've actually rewired your brain into now seeing things from a different perspective. You're no longer afraid of pain. You actually embody it, not embody it, embrace it, because you see it as your body's way of communicating with you.
Yeah.
So now when I experience pain, I used to be like, oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, must be my muscles tight. Oh, I need to do these glute exercises. I would go straight to physical. And now I always be like, okay, well, what am I feeling? What's going on right now? So pain equals emotion. And I kid you not, using my mind body tools, pain goes away. I control it. So it's very empowering.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so speaking to beliefs, I want people to walk away with some changed belief systems, and we're going to use your myths as that guideline because myths people will take as a belief, right? So you talked already about pain equaling damage and how that's false. But yeah, so I know that there's 5 of them. I can
Oh,
guide
there's
About
tons, but yes,
probably
the
tons.
most common ones.
We have 5 common ones.
Yeah.
myths about pain, right?
Yes.
Yeah, myths about pain.
About the belief of what's causing pain, and we this is daily. This happens all the time. So the first one would be, we most people will believe that when we feel pain equals damage. There's something wrong with my body. That's the first belief most people have, which unfortunately does not serve your nervous system, your brain, and is far from the truth. So that's number one. The second one, imagery. We talked about this briefly too, but that imaging, MRIs, ultrasound, X-rays, explains your pain. And again, that is a pure myth. Um, the other thing is, when you see structural damage, so if MRIs, ultrasounds, and X-rays will show tendon tears, tendonitis, herniated disc, spinal stenosis, osteoarthritis. Ooh, I love that one. Most people believe it causes pain. Not
Mm.
true. Did you know there's lots of people in their 20s that have osteoarthritis in their hips and knees and have zero pain? It is far from the truth, and science has proven it. So that is one of the biggest myths. And if people could only let go of that belief, it would help them tremendously. But how many of us will be like, "Ooh, I've got arthritis, so when it rains, of course my pain's going to come." Well, yeah, okay. If you truly believe that, it's going to happen, right? So that's a big one. Another one, aging. How many of us will say, "Oh, as soon as you hit 40, it all goes downhill. My body is failing me, I could no longer." And yes, our recovery could be slower, but it does not mean that when you age, you will have pain and that it's inevitable. That is a biggest myth ever. Lots of people in their 80s and 90s still running marathons and have no pain. So it is far from the truth. And then another one, and that's a common one, rest is the best for pain.
Motion is lotion. That's what I was taught.
Yeah, exactly. So when we hurt, oh, I got to sit down, I got to do nothing. That's the worst thing you could actually do. Now, and even actually, are you familiar with the rice principle? So if you
Yes.
sprain your ankle and you see swelling right away, that rice principle that we've all been taught since high school,
Mhm.
rice, so compression, ice, wrap, elevate, and so on, that is out the door. It is no longer valid. They've came up with a new one. It's called peace and love. Now, I couldn't tell you exactly what all these acronyms are, but you can look it up. Peace and love. That is basically, excuse me, yes, if you do sprain your ankle, for example, you want to protect it. So meaning do not, keep walking on it. You want to give it about 48 hours where it just needs to rest a little bit, protect it from other hits. But then after that, you actually want to move it. So doing some slight movement of the joint to really allow these cells and the blood to go in there and do the repair that your body's designed to do.
Mm.
So ice has now shown to impede the natural healing process of the body,
Right.
and as well as anti-inflammatories like Advil. Worst thing we could do is to take Advil when we feel pain, because it has nothing to do with inflammation most of the time, like chronic pain, and it can actually impede natural healing.
Valerie, when I had my surgery, I was told by everybody around me, and including the nurse, when I left surgery, you have to stay ahead of the pain. You have to stay out of the pain. So they had me on, this cocktail every few hours so it never had a break from it between ibuprofen and Tylenol. And then I had morphine. I got talked into morphine just during the night to help me sleep. I did it for 2 nights, and then I suffered for the next 3 days. I don't get headaches. I'm very blessed, other than after a whiplash. But once, but yeah, had this weird sort of headache, and I think it was, withdrawal, I think from I
Mm.
don't from
Well,
these
if you're not used to
medications.
taking pain medications that are strong like that, it
No.
can definitely have some side effects. Yeah.
I wish
And
I could have just got my leg in nice cold water. I know it's ice, maybe not recommended, but I know people that will do cold therapy to help control
And
pain.
at the end of the day, what's important when it comes to pain is sending safety messages to your brain. So if you're a person that's very, very sensitive and your pain threshold is very low,
Mm.
it's better initially, to take these substances, let's say provided by the doctors, to help you cope with it. Because there's nothing worse if you're afraid it's going to get worse and then you get stressed, your muscles will tense, your nervous system will respond
Right.
accordingly. That would
Ah,
actually perpetuate your pain.
so they
So it
are
all
right in that
depends.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it all depends
Yeah.
on the type of person you are. Some people are like, nope, I'm good, and they have full control and they don't take, then it works for them. So, you got to do what works for you, but at a physiological level, it has been proven that time and your body has of its machinery to literally take care of the swelling. Yeah, very pretty. And then I think the last myth I wanted to share was that, well, actually, it pretty much comes down to what we just talked about, that pain means that there's something physically wrong. And again, far from the truth, because we now know that neuroplastic pain and mind body syndrome exists. And it's been around for quite some time. It's quite some time. I would say back at least in the 80s.
Want to just capture. I think we were going to ask you a ton of questions about personality and pain, but we covered them all actually. But you have a smoke alarm metaphor that you've
Mm.
used for chronic pain, like for migraines or neck pain. Can you share that? Because I found that really, really helpful.
Yeah, I like to use analogies to help people understand it. So so it's really I use that to explain what neuroplastic pain is. Excuse me. So imagine your house, right? We have all these smoke alarms, and when you have a real fire, your smoke alarm will go off, right? So that can be used into context of you actually get an injury, you sprain your ankle, you break a bone, you get a contusion, whatever it is, then your brain will pick that up. Oh, there's real danger. So it will send you real pain. It's always real pain, but it'll send you pain into that area.
Mhm.
Now, the false alarm of the smoke alarm. So again, in our house, how many times if your excuse me, if your batteries are dying, your alarm will go off, but it's a false alarm. There's no real fire. Well, that's what happens when your brain senses still danger signals from your emotions, your nervous system, but there's actually no structural damage. So there's no physical injury, but the brain still picks up as an injury. So it will still send you real pain in the body, but there's actual no real injury, so no real fire. And I really put emphasis on real because I often will get people when we explain neuroplastic pain that they think we're saying it's in their head. They're making this up. And it's so not true. Neuroplastic pain and mind body syndromes create real pain and real symptoms. So it's not that they're making this up. It's not the person's fault. It's just how the brain and the nervous system is wired.
And what are there pioneers in the mind body medicine? Like who did you learn from in all this? It sounds like a bit of a journey you've been on.
Yeah, there's quite a few actually out there now that do this work. But I started reading books from Dr. John Sarno. He's got quite a few. There's a mind body prescription that he's created, The Divided Mind. I've got quite a few back there. But Dr. Howard Schubiner is also, he actually specializes more into the mind body syndrome. So I read some great books from him. Then we have Dr. Alan Gordon and Dr. Elon Zev. Zev, sorry. One of them is a psychologist and the other one is I believe, a physician. And they actually did one of the biggest studies on pain reprocessing therapy, PRT. The study was called, oh, am I going to butcher that? I think it was Bolton study. Anyways, there is a book that they wrote and it's fantastic. Anybody that has low back, they specialize the study on back pain. So anybody that has back pain, I highly recommend they buy this book on Amazon. It's called The Way Out. It is an
Okay.
easy read. It is funny, and it describes what neuroplastic pain is and how they use pain reprocessing therapy to reverse pain. So they're also great teachers of mine. Dr. Joe Dispenza, I absolutely love him as well. He's more the science he has come up with or discovered, excuse me, is the power of our thoughts, right? And visualization, meditations and visualizations. Excuse me. So these are tools I definitely use in my program. And there's been studies out there that have shown the unbelievable power of our deep beliefs and visualization can do in terms of healing our tissues right down to the cellular level and genes. And he's one of them. Dr.
Mm.
Joe Dispenza himself has his personal story that you can read on, and he actually healed his broken spine through that method. So yeah, there's lots more, but those are the pioneer ones that I've done a lot of my research on.
Fabulous.
All right,
Any,
we are
oh,
getting near time. Is there any, Laura, are there any last questions that you wanted to make sure we fit in?
any daily habits you could give us to help support your the mind body approach to healing chronic pain?
Yeah, excuse me. The first thing I honestly would recommend anyone to do right now is to start being curious. If they can start being curious about what is triggering their pain and becoming aware of what they believe is causing their pain, just that, and I've seen it. I've had one conversation once with a person where once they understood what this was about, their pain went away because they actually understood the science and they chose to let go of the beliefs that didn't serve them. So I would honestly say simple practice you can do every day is to become aware of your beliefs, of your thoughts, of
Mm.
your assumptions of your pain, right? When you're in pain, what do you think about it? What do you think of your body when your body is not moving well and you're not able to do the things you love? How do you treat it? What do you say to yourself? I hate this body, my knee doesn't move, or what does it look like, right? So the tone in which you speak to yourself and to your body, and notice what emotion that will create. And it's pretty simple, really, because you'll notice, okay, when I say this or think this, does it create fear or love? Too
Mm.
simple, very basic emotion. Most of them will probably be fear based or frustration and anger. It's all the same. So when you become aware of that, then you can do that transformation. That's where you can switch. And then you can make that decision for yourself. You can choose, okay, I'm going to let go of these beliefs and start to become curious about what's going on emotionally and then to tap into that. So I would keep it simple, and that I think would be a great start because it can go a long way. There are tools that you can find anywhere on YouTube, on some meditation apps. There's a mind body tool called somatic tracking. It was developed I believe, by Dr. Alan Gordon and Elon Zev, but it's really just a simple, I believe it's 5 minutes long. Most of them are about 5 minutes long. Simple meditation that you can listen to that will help you change the relationship you have with your pain. So when you feel pain, notice if you tend to go, oh no, like I remember when I had migraines, I'd be like, oh no, here we go. Oh, now it's going to ruin my day. It just ramps up your emotions. You start to fear it and it makes it worse. So if you listen to that meditation, it will help you calm your nervous system and look at pain differently. So from a different lens, more of a lens of curiosity and observation as opposed to fear. So that is also a very, very powerful tool that anybody can use at home.
Yeah, this sounds like a quantum lens to me. And getting a really big result.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. So I wanted to ask you our signature question that has to do with that. And so I would love for you to answer within your realm of expertise. This has been such an amazing conversation. What does quantum healthy mean to you?
I love this. It's so good because, as you know, Andeea, you and I have studied manifestation together. And when we talk about quantum leaping in your life and whatnot, it's the same thing. And I love that when I read those, like, oh, yes, in my program, that's really what I teach people is to quantum leap their health. And it really comes down to simply, in my opinion, it means to thrive from the inside out. So it's to heal literally by understanding how your thoughts, your emotions affect your body. And when you tap into that and you use it, it becomes very powerful and you will quantum leap 100%.
Beautiful.
Awesome. That's so amazing. Oh my God. This was full of just really tangible things for people to walk away with. Thank you so much, Valerie.
Oh, well, you're so welcome. And thank you for having me. I love talking about this. My purpose in life is to truly educate people as much as I can on this, on how they truly can be in control of their health and in control of their pain, because I have been on the other side as a patient and as a conventional, physical therapist. And unfortunately, I find that our system is designed to hold us back, and we stay victims because we literally put everything onto the health professionals to
Exactly.
fix you. And that, and that is so, you become powerless. And so when you understand how powerful your mind is and your nervous system and your emotions, and you really start to tap into that, then your health is like, it's limitless. You can do whatever you want. And I know it can be hard for people to believe, but it's there's been evidence. And I've seen it with my own eyes with lots of my clients and myself. So that is my purpose in life, is to help in that way.
What are your offerings? What exactly, like, do you have these programs that you mentioned? What are
Yeah,
they?
so I've developed two main programs. My signature program is the 6-month program. It's a transformation program. It's called Rise Above Pain, and it's truly designed to, I incorporate all of the pain neuroscience. It's all backed, based on neuroscience. So I incorporate the tools and practices that you need to do to rewire your brain and your nervous system to remove your pain, to resolve your pain, and also life coaching skills to manage your mindset and regulate your emotions. So we talk about relationships, setting boundaries, how to, and your own identity when we talked about earlier, right? It's to rediscover who you are and how to create the best, healthiest version of yourself. So we really, it's a full transformation. So that is my signature program, the Rise Above Pain. Then I have another one. It's a 6-week program. It's called Pain Reset Boot Camp. That 6 weeks, it's intense, but it is fantastic for anyone that has neuroplastic pain. The Rise Above Pain is really designed more for mind-body syndromes. So when you've been experiencing pain for quite a long time and there's emotional, work that we need to do. Whereas the neuroplastic pain is, again, can be really reversed within 6 weeks. And so if, let's say for you, Laura, with your pain, let's say you still find yourself having pain down the road, then that would be a perfect program for you, because it's simply just uncovering some thoughts you might have that are triggering the pain. You don't have as much emotions that are suppressed. That's not what's really causing the pain.
Right.
So there's a difference between the two programs. Yeah. And then I also have workshops and master classes I've designed. I've got a master class, a 1-hour master class that's really talks about the placebo effect, how your thoughts and your beliefs create the placebo effect in your body. So how to master your pain using your mind. And then I have another one that's about setting boundaries. And yeah, I give lots of tips and tricks and advice on social media, so Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah, you have some great posts. I've been looking at several of them recently.
Thank
And
you.
how can people find you? Like, we'll have this
So
in the show notes, but
yeah, I have a website called, it's www.mindbodyliving.com. Excuse me. No, I forgot the RX. Sorry. It's my.com. That's my website. And then you can follow me on Instagram, which is Valerie_mind_body_coach. And then the Facebook is Valerie Beaulieu, my last name, Beaulieu, hyphen mind body coach.
I'll make sure I link all those things for everybody.
well,
Thank you.
it's my turn to thank you. First of all, thank you for playing hockey, Valerie, because that's how we met.
I know, that's right.
I don't
Many
know
years ago.
many years ago. You were this friendly face, because so many of the well, we weren't we weren't really I guess I think I was one of the oldest, but a bunch of them were young, really, really good, strong hockey players.
Competitive.
And you and I were looking at each other going, I think you were faster than I was, but we're looking at each other going, is this safe to be out here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, my hockey career ended when I fell myself skating to get the puck and injured my sacrum, and I went, I think it's time to
Yeah.
let the younger girls play the sport.
Yeah.
I probably should have come and seen you then, but I do want to thank you seriously for just taking the unique insight that you have into athletic therapy. We do live in this little town, and I can tell you, Andeea, and everybody listening, most people in Carlton Place who have had an injury know who Valerie Beaulieu is. So I learned about you day one with kids in hockey that had injuries. So I think we even came to see you with one of my sons. Yeah. But yeah, so that unique insight, the journey that you went through, some would say that was heartless. That was the word that was coming up when what happened to you with your ex, but you've dealt with that, and you've taught us that pain, really key message today I really hope people take away is this: pain equals emotions. I think this has been hugely thought-provoking. Thank you for teaching us to become powerful and to take the control, take back control. And as you and Andeea know better than I do, how to quantum leap our health and to thrive I love this, your words, thriving from the inside out. And that just this whole message that the insights are these insights that we can learn, we can actually heal. So thank you for all those gifts you shared with our listeners today. And I hope some people will go a little further and take the coaching if they're the ones that, may be suffering from the neuroplastic pain or the mind-body syndrome. So yeah, thank you.
Well,
Educated
thank
us. Thank you.
you. I really appreciate that. And, I just want to say one last little message for anyone listening to this when it comes to trauma, because I hear this a lot when we have difficult past, or we often have this belief that we're different and it's not going to work for us. Or what if it doesn't work? Like, there's fear behind making a decision to prioritize you. It is very, very common, but I want to share that it is 100% possible. And when you said earlier about my year of trauma, I honestly look at it's all about changing your perspective on how you see it, and it is possible to change that. And for me, it was the best thing that's happened.
Right.
Was truly the best thing that's happened to me, because I wouldn't be today doing what I'm doing if I hadn't experienced that.
Mhm.
Honestly, like, honest to God. So I'm grateful I experienced migraines and so on. But it can happen to anybody else, right? It's to just shift the way in which you see things, and that can be life-changing.
Thank you, Valerie, for teaching us today. So many beautiful gems. And thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Quantum Healthy podcast. We hope you found some value in this information. And if you feel inspired, please share it and leave us a 5-star review. This will help us reach so many more people. If you want to connect with Laura, you can find her at laurakistmanwellness.com and Andeea at andeearay.com. Links are below in the show notes. Now, go find some sunlight and embrace your own quantum healthy.